What if I told you that a minor misprint in a scientific journal nearly led to a global catastrophe? Or that a single ship, lost in fog, almost triggered the collapse of entire economies? Stay with me, because by fact 4, you'll question everything you thought you knew about history. In this video, we reveal 7 historical events you've probably never heard of, yet each one came unbelievably close to reshaping our world completely. If you're into mind-blowing stories and hidden truths, hit like and subscribe right now. Let's go. Back in 1905, a relatively unknown astronomer named Dr. Adrian Keller published a paper on gravitational anomalies in planetary orbits. He made a seemingly trivial rounding error, off by just 0.0003%. That tiny mistake shifted the predicted trajectory of several comets. Had his miscalculation been off by a bit more, it could have altered the timing of several solar eclipses, potentially disrupting global agricultural forecasts, religious calendars, even political treaties dependent on celestial events. For decades, no one noticed, until in 1932 a mathematician reran the numbers. The realization? If Keller's error had been 10 times greater, depending on the orbital resonance, it might have caused cascading misalignments, possibly invalidating treaty dates used by nations to schedule diplomatic summits or harvest treaties. Crazy to think. But sometimes it's the tiniest slip that could have had the biggest consequences. And that's just fact number 1. On to fact 2. In 1893, a merchant vessel called the SS Argus vanished without a trace off the coast of eastern Africa. It was insured for a record sum, millions in today's dollars. When the ship failed to arrive, insurance companies refused to pay, claiming a force majeure. A ripple effect struck. Shareholders panicked, banks called in loans, and in one European city, 3 major banks collapsed overnight. A full-blown financial panic ensued, threatening to plunge national economies into depression. Fortunately, detailed logs from a smaller port later confirmed the ship had been damaged by rogue waves and diverted. Still, for several tumultuous weeks, world markets teetered on the edge. And that's why fact number 3, yes, you're going to love this one. It was 1910, at a remote mountain pass between 2 rival nations. An engineer misread a topographic map and built a checkpoint in the wrong location, 200 meters inside the neighbor's territory. When a military patrol crossed into that mistaken zone, tensions flared. Had the offended side retaliated instantly, historians believe a localized border clash could have escalated into full war. Luckily, before shots were fired, both commanders recognized the mistake and held back orders. Still, you can imagine, one misdrawn line on a map nearly changed the map of Europe forever. During the reign of King Wilhelm III, a diplomat in a distant colony sent a letter warning of an upcoming insurrection. But due to a postal routing error, it sat forgotten in a warehouse for weeks. By the time it arrived, the rebellion had already spread. Had the king known in time, he could have dispatched loyal troops and suppressed it peacefully. Instead, the uprising spread into a full-blown civil war. Had the letter arrived just days earlier, historians believe the empire might have survived intact. If you think that's wild, fact number 5 is even more unbelievable. In 1942, a resistance group in a besieged city encoded a message for Allied intelligence, coordinates, troop strength, supply routes. But the radio transmitter used an obscure frequency. Due to atmospheric conditions and jamming, only fragments were received. The Allies pieced together partial data, misinterpreted the position by miles, and deployed troops to the wrong zone. If the message had been clearer, a decisive counteroffensive might have succeeded earlier, saving tens of thousands of lives. It was a near miss, but the impact ripple is still debated by historians. On to fact number 6. In 1919, an artist was commissioned to paint a grand mural in a newly formed nation's Peace Hall. In his mural, he included maps of neighboring territories, but he accidentally shaded disputed regions as belonging to the wrong side. Diplomats visiting saw the map, assumed it was an official territorial claim, and heated words were exchanged. One foreign ambassador declared it an act of aggression. For several tense hours, war was nearly declared, until officials clarified it was artistic error. Still, art nearly started a war. In 1838, a routine meteorological reading in a small colonial outpost recorded a minute drop in barometric pressure, 0.02 millimeters of mercury. That tiny reading was dismissed at the time. But decades later, climate scientists discovered that the drop was the earliest evidence of a previously unknown volcanic eruption halfway across the planet, a precursor to a global climate anomaly. If that eruption had been just 0.1 stronger, it might have triggered a prolonged volcanic winter, crop failures across continents, famines, mass migrations. In other words, the tiniest blip in a weather log nearly signaled Earth's shifting balance. Crazy, right? Those were 7 unreal moments in history that almost rewrote everything we know. Which one stunned you the most? Drop a comment. I read every single one. If you enjoyed this journey through hidden history, tap that like button and make sure you're subscribed. I've got many more stories waiting. Also, check out my other videos. We dive deep into the weirdest events you never learned in school. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.